everybody! This is Teacher Caroline, and today I'm going to talk to you about plants that grow in the wild but are safe to eat. Before we start though, there are two very important rules that we always have to follow when we're eating plants from nature. The first rule is we always check with a grown-up before we eat something. Will you say that with me? We always check with a grown-up before we eat something. Even if you know what it is and you feel really confident, you still need to check with a grown-up every time. The second rule is that when we check with a grown-up, we need to be able to tell them 3 things that we see about the plant that help us identify it. Will you say that with me? We'll find 3 things about the plant that help us identify them. And if you can say those 3 things and your grown-up says yes, then it's okay to eat the plant. So today I am going to show you a few different plants that grow here at the Mercer Slough and also at a lot of other places in this part of Washington. And I'm going to tell you more than 3 things about each plant, but you need to remember at least 3 if you want to try and eat it later. Alright, let's get going. The first plant that I'm going to show you all is called salmonberry. Can you say that with me? Salmonberry. Salmonberry. And we talked about it during our Signs of Spring scavenger hunt because salmonberry has beautiful pink flowers. After the flowers' petals fall off, they start to turn into berries that are safe to eat. Here are a few things that help you identify a salmonberry. The flowers are bright pink and have 5 petals. Each of their little branches has 3 leaflets on it. Let's count. 1, 2, 3. And one way that I really like to identify salmonberries is to bend back the top leaf. And when you do that, the bottom 2 look like a butterfly. Does this look like a butterfly to you? The berries look a lot like raspberries. They're about the same size, have little bumps on the outside, and are shiny. And when they're ripe, they're reddish pink. Before they turn ripe, they're usually orange. The older stems will have bigger thorns on them, but not huge like a blackberry. Most of them just have some small little thorns, or this one doesn't have any. Here are some salmonberries that are almost ripe. See how this one is starting to turn red? It still has a little bit of orange on it, so I wouldn't pick this one yet. I would leave it for later. This one though, this one is pretty red. What do you think? I'm gonna try it. And when you pick one, if it's ripe, it should come off pretty easily. You don't have to pull super, super hard. Whoop, that came off pretty easily. Here is a really awesome plant, one of my favorites. And this one is called thimbleberry. Can you say that with me? Thimbleberry. And we talked about this plant before because thimbleberry has really soft leaves, and some people call it the toilet paper plant because their leaves are so soft. Thimbleberries are usually ready to eat in the middle of June, and I think they taste the best out of all of the berries that grow around here. They taste sort of like raspberries. Here are a few ways that you can identify thimbleberry. As I mentioned, thimbleberry has leaves that are very soft. The leaves are star-shaped and they have 5 points. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The leaves also have sort of jaggedy edges in between the points. These berries aren't ripe yet, but here, I'll put up a picture of what one looks like. They're sort of like raspberries. They are bright red, and they have little bumps on the outside just like raspberries do. And they're not as shiny as raspberries, they're a little bit dull, and when you pick them, they're a little bit squishier than raspberries. The flowers have 5 petals when all their petals are on. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The petals are pretty thick, sort of round. The inside parts of the flower aren't super bright yellow. So let's review for thimbleberry. The leaves are star-shaped, very soft, and have 5 points and jaggedy edges. The flowers are medium-sized and white and have 5 round petals. The berries are red, they're dull, they have little bumps on the outside, and they're about the same size as a raspberry. And that's thimbleberry. Another edible plant that grows here at the Mercer Slough is Oregon grape. Can you say that with me? Oregon grape. And these aren't quite ripe yet. Usually they're ripe in like July. But here are some ways that you can identify Oregon grape. The berries are a little bit smaller than a blueberry. Right now they're mostly green, but when they're ripe, they will turn dark blue. They look a lot like blueberries. They don't taste as good as blueberries though. They are pretty bitter actually, but some people like to use them to make jam, because if you add sugar, they taste pretty good, I guess. Here's a picture of the flowers from earlier this spring, and the flowers are bright yellow, and there are lots and lots of tiny flowers on each branch, and you can't tell from the picture, but the flowers smell really good. It's one of my favorite flowers to smell. The leaves are a little bit shiny, and they have little pokey edges on them. They're not sharp enough to cut you or to really hurt you, but they don't feel nice either. So a little bit pokey. And they grow in rows, so there will be one on the end and then pairs of 2 that are across from each other the rest of the way down the stem. And sometimes they turn red even when it's not fall, but they can be bright green or dark green. Let's review our identification tips for Oregon grape. It has yellow flowers that are small and smell really good, and there are lots of them on each branch. It has green leaves with little pokey bits all the way around the leaf. The leaves are in pairs across from each other except for one on the end, and the berries are small and dark blue when they're ripe, and that's Oregon grape. Here is another plant that is edible, and this one is called osoberry. Can you say that with me? Osoberry. Osoberry. We also had this one on our Signs of Spring scavenger hunt. It has small white flowers that sort of hang down. Here's a picture. And those are some of the earliest flowers to bloom in the spring, usually in February or early March. By now they are all gone. And here are some ways that you can identify osoberry. Osoberry leaves are long and thin. See, this one is a little bit longer than my finger, so that's pretty long. And they have a little point at the end, but it's not a sharp point. They have one line up the middle of the leaf, that's called a leaf vein, and then lots of little veins that go off to the ends of the leaves. Osoberries are usually small trees, so this one is a little bit taller than me, but not much taller. They don't get really big. And then these are the berries, and they are small. They are about the size of my thumbnail, maybe a little smaller. And right now they're yellow. When they are ripe, they turn dark blue or dark purple. Some people think they look like tiny plums. If you take a leaf and crumple it up and smell it, some people say it smells a little bit like cucumber. I don't know if I can smell it or not, but I also don't eat very many cucumbers. People also think the berries taste a little bit like cucumbers. Okay, so let's review our identification tricks for osoberry. It has leaves that are long and thin with a small point at the end that isn't very sharp. The leaves have one vein that runs down the center of each leaf, and smaller veins that branch out on the sides. It's a tree, but not a very big one, just maybe a little bit taller than a grown-up. It has white flowers that bloom early in the spring. It has small berries that are maybe the size of a fingernail or a thumbnail, and when they're ripe, they are purple. And some people think that the plant smells a little bit or tastes a little bit like cucumber. If you want to test your ID skills, you can come to Canoe Garden, and just in the area around the canoe, you can find all 4 of the plants I've talked about today. There's one other thing that is important to remember when you are eating plants that you find in nature. So, this is Oregon grape, and as I told you earlier, it is safe to eat the berries, but I would not eat this Oregon grape plant. Do you have any ideas why? This Oregon grape is growing right next to a path. Do you have any ideas why that might make it unsafe to eat? A lot of people like to walk their dogs here, and sometimes dogs go to the bathroom while they're walking. And we have no way of telling whether a dog went to the bathroom on this plant or not. So, I don't want to eat it if a dog went to the bathroom on it. Would you? No. Gross. So I try to not pick berries from plants when they're right next to the path and when they're close to the ground. If it's really high up, higher than a dog could reach, it's probably okay. The other thing is you can probably hear in the background, but there are a lot of cars going by, and this is a kind of busy road. And, you know, cars have those pipes in the back that let off really stinky smoke. I don't like to eat plants that come from right next to where there's a really busy road, because I think they might have some chemicals from the cars on them. Luckily, where we live, there are lots of other places to find plants that aren't right next to a road. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you have fun exploring this week. See you soon.